Hello, my darlings. My name is Stephanie, and welcome to my series on the ghost stories and spooky tales of Britain. This series is a brief and short look at some of the haunted places in Britain and the spooky ghost stories attached to them. Now, normally I stick to places in the UK, but we are going overseas for today's ghost stories. You might or might not know that I was recently in Colorado over Christmas time, and one of the towns that I was wandering around in was Littleton. And I discovered that one of the popular restaurants there is actually haunted. Sadly, I didn't have time to go in, but that's for next visit. But of course I had to look into the ghost stories, and once I found out about them, I had to make a video about this place. The melting pot has a very interesting history. So the melting pot is in the town of Littleton, Colorado. Littleton came into being in the late 1800s. In the early 1900s, Littleton discovered funding from the Carnegie Foundation to build a new library. By the way, I recently learned that it's supposed to be pronounced Carnegie and not Carnegie, which is how I've only ever heard it. So, you learn something new every day. The building was designed by Denver architect Jacques Benedict, and the building was completed in 1916, and it continued being the Carnegie Library until 1965, when a new library was built. It was then turned into the Littleton Police Headquarters and Jail in 1965, until the police moved elsewhere in 1977. Since then, the building has had various bars and restaurants there, and the melting pot has been there since the 90s/2000s. There seemed to be a bit of a difference in when the melting pot took over. Some sources say 96, others say 97, and I even found a 2004 date, but the late 90s, early 2000s seems to be the kind of correct time period. The building's location originally sat on the banks of the South Platte River. Some say that the victims of a flash flood died at the site where the building would eventually be, and that their bodies were never recovered. Others say that there was flooding around the time of the construction of the building, which killed some of the construction workers. Now, the architect who designed the building studied overseas in Paris, I think. It has been said that he had an interest in the occult, and he brought back some books dating from the witch-burning era in Europe, which he kept in the library. Years later, volunteers came across the documents and allegedly held a seance in hopes of contacting the dead. They were apparently successful in contacting spirits, and ghosts were sometimes seen at the library after that. The manuscripts and the books, they mysteriously disappeared, apparently misplaced, and they were never seen again. I don't know if any of this is true. It could all be rumours, just kind of, spice it up a bit. It probably is just rumours. It is very convenient that the books weren't ever found. But then again, I think if I was one of those that were in the seance, I might try and kind of keep them hidden, keep them away from prying eyes. So I don't know, probably rumours, but still very interesting. There is a pretty well-known story of shootings and deaths whilst the building was a police station. A prisoner tried to escape custody and ended up killing an officer. In turn, they got gunned down in a hallway of the building. This, however, is probably not true. Spirit Paranormal Investigations, a Littleton-based organisation that investigates the paranormal, they talked to a lot of elderly folk who were around at the time of the police station, and apparently no one has ever been shot or has died in the building. I guess the rumours are more sensational and exciting to share, and probably what's happened is that people hear the stories and then they pass them on, not realising that they likely are not true. There are so many stories and accounts of ghostly activity though. Employees have seen unlit candles suddenly lighting up on their own. One of the heavy coffee machines moved on its own as well. Voices have been heard from the sealed up back staircase. Shelves in the storage area just outside the kitchen have been witnessed shaking so hard that items fell off them. And heaters have been turned on. Bartenders have had their feet grabbed. One man said he had claw marks on the back of his neck. A manager claimed that a ghost had followed him home and he ended up quitting. Both customers and staff have reported glasses moving on their own and heard people talking at the bar when there was no one around. The restaurant's basement is said to be haunted by former prison inmates, and faces have been seen in the reflections in the glass doors. A ghost child has been seen wandering the area. Local legend tells of a child that drowned in a fountain on the property. Could that child's spirit be the one that has been seen roaming the grounds? You can't escape the ghostly activity even in the loos. Apparently, taps in the sinks turn themselves on in the ladies' toilets, and some women have been pushed in there. Sometimes when they are alone in the centre stall of the ladies' loos on the lower floor, they can hear breathing. Whilst in that same centre stall, one woman reported feeling something grab her ankle, but she couldn't see anything or anyone that could explain it. The Melting Pot seems to embrace its spooky reputation, and they regularly post about the ghosts, and they hold quite a few ghost hunting sessions. And they also seem happy to allow ghost hunters to hold their own investigations. I did find a website, Rocky Mountain Paranormal, who had done some paranormal investigations, and it seems like they had debunked a lot of the claims. The most notable one, and the one that made me laugh the most, was the breathing that was reported in the ladies' loos. Apparently it was an automatic air freshener that goes off every so often on its own. How disappointing is that? But it's also pretty amusing. That did make me chuckle. The ghost stories may or may not be true. There is a lot of discrepancies in the stories, and also some of the events that happened back in time seem to wildly differ. But they are still a lot of fun to read about, and I would still love to go and experience the atmosphere at the Melting Pot for myself. I hope you enjoyed today's ghost stories. It was really fun being abroad. I may have to venture further afield for next time, the next ghost stories every so often. Anyway, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you join me on my next video. But until then, stay spooky.